What's up, everybody? This is Phil Rogacki.
And I'm Jared Abergina.
You're listening to Two Tree Guys Podcast. What's up, everybody? Phil Rogacki here with the 2TG Podcast and my co-host, Jared Abergina, finally in the studio. Say hello. Nobody can see you.
Oh,
he was waving.
I'm back. I'm back by
popular demand. He's back. Going to be on the show today. Today we're going to be doing a training talk, and the title of this talk that we're going to be discussing is, what does it take to lead a boot camp training? Okay, and it's, how to facilitate and lead training. But before we dive into that, if this is the first time you guys ever listened to the show, welcome. We appreciate you guys paying the fee, which is after the show. You like it, you share it, comment, tag a friend in it, tag us in it. This is the only way the show grows, is by you guys sharing it. We also have a lot of different episodes on the show besides just training talk. We have What's Your Story, where we bring industry badasses in and hear their story, their life story of how they got in the industry, people that mentored them on the way, and some wisdom they can share. We have our safety talk. We talk about real life incidents that happen in our industry, how to improve them, how to mitigate them from happening again. We have our gear talk, talking to different manufacturers and products, about different products of what works, what doesn't work, the backstory, where'd this come from, to be able to give to you guys. And then we have our full length. And our full length is when you're in California, you come to the studio, we eat good food, we drink beer, and we talk about whatever we're going to talk about, but it's a good time from there. So today we have Andy and Kyel, Jared, and myself going to be talking about what does it take to lead a boot camp training. So, Andy, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Good.
So
let's dive in.
Yeah, diving in. Kyle and I are both stationed out in Colorado. I'm the lead instructor for Academy out there, and we've run 4 very successful boot camps so far, and we've really started to dial in our process as far as setup, management of the entire camp and of everybody there. So yeah, I guess we're gonna dive into it. Kyle, you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Kyel Ciufi. I'm kind of Andy's right-hand man. He's definitely the lead instructor, but I help him run the boot camps as well.
And you guys are going on 4 boot camps now. I'm sure you've seen some drastic improvements from the first one to where it's now.
Indeed. I think the biggest thing for us is planning far enough ahead of time that we can have enough wood so everyone gets plenty of time running a saw, and a lot of trees pre-set up so that the setup and breakdown is really where it kills us on the logistical side of things. So we plan this out, a couple months ahead of time, and then the week prior to the camp, we start the process of collecting all the wood, drilling the holes in the ground so we have plenty of spars, making sure that all of the equipment is properly set up. We go through gear check and safety checks on that before we get students in. And then another big thing is having plenty of food, water, and accoutrement for everyone there, just because, making everybody comfortable. And
what did you say, accoutrement?
Accoutrement. Accoutrement, isn't that? It's a French term.
Is it?
Yeah. The accoutrement.
Accoutrement? Accoutrement?
It's a.
Accoutrement.
Accoutrement. We can look that up, but we could Google that.
With your guys' facility out there, and it's much different than how we've always ran boot camps back home, because we had a designated facility. You guys are running a tree care operation out of that facility too, making it a little bit more difficult.
Exactly.
So talk a little bit about that as far as setup and tear down and putting stuff away.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the company, this Straw Tree Care, that allows us to use their facility, they have a fairly good sized yard with a dirt space that we can drill holes in the ground and put spars in, which is necessary. But we also have a really large shop, which really helps. We can hang ropes inside. If weather is a factor, we can do a lot of our in-classroom teaching and training indoors under the covered roof and with some heat in there. So It is a process. We have to plan ahead of time so that we can get all of their equipment out. We can set up a stage. We can have, basically enough tables and chairs to facilitate everyone, hanging ropes, setting up trees inside so we can have a limb walking park. It's quite a bit of to do to get it to where when the final product, when people walk in the first morning of the boot camp, we want it to be, this is your classroom. This is where we want you guys to feel comfortable, come in every morning and get ready to learn. So
how many hours would you say goes into prepping a boot camp before the actual boot camp starts?
at least 2 full days, probably 2 full 10-hour days to get everything set up. Yeah.
Now, let's I'm going to back up a little bit, and I want to, people that are listening right now, I want to be able to teach them how to be able to set up their own boot camp and some of the things that go in. So
Absolutely.
Let's take it from the start all the way to the end of having a successful boot camp, and kind of some of the steps along the way, some of the things you got to look out for, any ideas, any tips and tricks that you can share with them if they just wanted to have an internal boot camp for themselves, or maybe put on a little local boot camp, for some other companies.
And I think we should define the boot camp as well.
Exactly.
So it's a 3-day training where we're going in a step-by-step process of getting competency running chainsaws, starting on the ground, going through, your maintenance and your every component of the saw to familiarize people with how to maintain their equipment and how to safely start the saw and safely run the saw, making ground cuts. The second day, we go into climbing operations, which involves everything from accessing the tree to choosing the proper equipment, and going through safety and gear checks prior to going aloft every time. We run, and then the third day, we kind of combine the two. We take chainsaw work and working aloft, and we put people up in the tree and actually get them to run saws safely in the tree. So that being said, there's a lot of components. We're working at 3 very different arenas that we actually have to train in. So once you understand, okay, these are the topics we're going to cover, this is how many people are going to be involved. Do we have a space that's able to house that many people? I think that's the first big question. Mm-hmm. So where, you nail down the where. Do you have trees on the property that you can climb? In Colorado, we have a really beautiful park that's just a mile away from the shop. So we actually have to go through the process of getting the park permits, to talking to the city foresters, to making sure that, it's able and available to house this many people and do a training outside in a public area. And then wherever the spars are going to be set up, so basically the logs that we put into the ground, they have to be stable enough that people can safely go up and down on them, and that we have good drop zones set up. That is another big factor in choosing an area to do this, because you now are separating 3 different, you have your classroom, which the bigger the classroom, the easier it is, the taller it is, the better. You can hang ropes and do a lot of demos inside. But you need enough tables and chairs and bathrooms. I mean, that's one thing people don't really think about when they're going to set up trainings, is you need to have facilities for everybody.
Yeah.
You can't just jump in the back of a chip truck all the time. So
yeah.
So you figure out your where, based on those 3 different parts of the boot camp. And then after that, you start looking at, okay, what do we need? Like, what are the actual tools that we need? We need saws. We need plenty of saws for everyone to put hands on. We need spare safety equipment, so all your PPE, whether that's chaps, glasses, extra helmets, extra harnesses. A lot of the times people that are coming into the class, they're looking to get into a different style of climbing or a different tool that they have been hesitant to actually, buy or use because they're not unfamiliar with it, and that's why they've come to the training. They really want to excel and elevate themselves, but they're not quite sure how to use something. So having enough equipment there, meaning every different type of device, different types of rope that they haven't seen, different harnesses that they've been interested in but they're not sure how they work, that's a big part too. So the what of it is having the tools available that we can spread that knowledge about everything that's out there and help these guys and gals make good choices on their next purchases, and then how to go out in the field and actually safely use them.
And give them a variety.
A big variety.
And not just say, here's a harness, try this one. It's like, okay, you have 6 different harnesses out there. Try them all.
See what fits you best. Yeah. So we're trying to open that door for everyone, because there's not too. When I was coming up, when I was learning, I didn't have that many options. I had what was given to me by the company, and then any extra money that I had, I tried to get one piece of equipment that I thought might do multiple things for me. Some of them worked out, some of them didn't. If I had an opportunity to go to a training like a boot camp and actually test this stuff, put it in my hands, get some expert knowledge from people that have used it many times, they're going to give me that feedback that I would need. So, so we got the where, we got the what do we need. So, you know, I mentioned this before, but food and water, having that planned and scheduled out. Facilities, so 3 different areas, all with restrooms available. Inclement weather, that's another big thing. What are your, you know, I'm a big component or proponent of having plan A, plan B, and then your contingencies, your plan C's, because you need to go with the flow. Sometimes the weather doesn't cooperate with your plans. Sometimes, you know, you might have 10 more students show up that want to take this class. How are you going to facilitate more people? So those are some of the things you need to think about. Then we really dive into the why after that. And the why from a leadership standpoint, that comes from whoever is managing this, that they have the team who's training really on board with, okay, here are our core values. Here's what we're trying to get across to our students, and diving deep into the curriculum so that everyone is on the same page, and we're not just not talking over each other, but we're not undermining what another instructor is saying by giving the right information. So I think that getting the why across to the entire team and really trying to support the instructors themselves and saying, you know, if you don't know something about what we're going to be teaching about, please, here's as much information as we can give you. Go home, study it, be on point, because when we're teaching, people are looking to us for those answers. And we need to, I think teaching is the best way to get to know something. Like any trade, anything we do in life, the best way to learn it 10 times over is to teach it. Yeah. You're going to have to explain the same principle to 100 different kinds of people that learn at a different pace, that learn by different means.
So, Kyle, you just came off of your first boot camp just recently. And how did that work out for you? You know, jumping in and having Andy provide, you know, the curriculum and going over, you know, what we're doing for the 3 days, what your roles were, what areas you can pop and fill and add your value to those 3 days. What was your experience out of that?
So we planned it pretty well beforehand. We had several meetings through Zoom and in person. And then that morning we had a meeting as well. So I knew what I was going to get into over that day. And with the curriculum right there, it's pretty easy to kind of stick to that and talk with it. But it was a great experience to be able to, you know, because as trainers, we don't stop learning either. So it was great to be there for that full boot camp and see it all the way through, because, you know, I learned some stuff from that too. So awesome.
Yeah, I think delegating those talking points. You know, I asked Kyle, I want you to speak on this, and anytime that I didn't cover something you thought was important, just step in. You know, like start talking. I think part of the on the setup side of the house, having the availability of mics so that everyone in the crowd can hear you, depending on the size of the space that you're in. Mm-hmm. And I can't say it enough, but just rehearsing. Like, some people aren't that comfortable talking in front of a crowd, but they might be really good with one-on-one. So me having these meetings with the team and sitting down with them, asking them, what are you comfortable talking about? What's something that you're excited about, that you feel like you have a lot of knowledge in, that I could let you run with that, and I can step back in the background and just be demonstrating while you're speaking. So establishing those kinds of roles within your team of the trainers is really important, just for the flow of the class, and it helps spread the love, spread the load, as it were, as far as talking points.
I think there's also, like you were saying, there's definitely a balance between, you know, if you're talking, letting you do your thing, and then when you're done, maybe just add something quick that's relevant, you know. But I think it's good to, you know, let you keep on your train of thought and on your process. But
That's important, not throwing them off course. By you all of a sudden jumping in and going, oh, I got something I want to say, and then all of a sudden you try to get back on. You're like, where was I? I just lost my train of thought, my flow, my everything.
Yep.
It's important.
So yeah, I think establishing that as a team, the more preparation you can do, the better it flows when it actually comes time. And I think this last one that we did, really, we executed it really well. We had a really strong team, and 2 of our trainers hadn't done a full boot camp. They had done individual trainings, but not a 3-day long. We're trying to cram a lot of information in 3 days and really drive home the point that we want these people to take that information and go home and use it and apply it. And it's not easy to do. You have to reiterate what you're saying, but also the way that I would describe something is not going to be the way that Jared describes it. It's not going to be the way that Kyle's, dealt with that same whatever.
And I find beauty in that. I mean, that's where you really get to people, and people grasp things a certain way, and you may be able to deliver it a way where you get a certain portion of the room, you get a certain portion of the room.
Right.
And I was there for that boot camp, and I watched you guys, and I didn't do a single thing. I sit in the back and watched it all flow, and it was beautiful. It was awesome. So, it was mind blowing.
Cool. Yeah, it was a lot of great feedback from that boot camp that you guys put on. So, a lot of the things I'm hearing from you on this is all the work is in the prep. It's in the beginning before you even execute it.
The more energy in, the more you get out. That's the way with anything else, right? The more prep you do, the more you try to dial in, and then once it's game day, you've already played. You've trained, you've done it.
And it doesn't matter how talented you are. It's the prep, the practice, the rehearsals is going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Take those talents and really put them to use. I can take some of the best football players in the world, and they just can't go out there and play a game. They will lose the game if they don't practice. They don't go over their plays. They don't know the right role, the right position for each person before going out there. They don't know their opponents. You don't know the students that are coming in. That makes a big difference to know who's students. What level do I have? Who am I talking to here? Do I have people in the industry for 20 years or 6 months? So all that prep is why you guys had such a successful boot camp.
It is
this last time.
One thing too, I see, Andy, that you do so well with, and for me, I'm very similar, is following an agenda and sticking to the curriculum and knowing your time of where you're at and how you need to speak towards that time. So if you have 15 minutes to speak about throw line and installation of ropes, you know your hot spots, where to fill, where to bring people in to speak, and then know when to phase that out and get on to the next. And that's what keeps that flow constantly moving through, and you stay on time. And you do a great job with that and bringing people back in when needed, because it's easy to go on tangents. Tangents.
Yeah.
And got to reel them in.
Taking those questions, which we always deal with, somebody that wants to take you down a rabbit hole and say, that is a great question. If anybody else wants the answer to that, come find me after, when we're taking a break, and we'll go deep dive into this. But right now we need to move on to the next topic. And that's something I learned from you, is trying to divert by not ignoring the question, but devoting the curriculum to those time hacks and really sticking with it. And it's not easy to do. You got to do it a couple times to really get that down, because before you know it, you've talked for an hour and it's, lunch has been here, everyone's nodding off. You gotta keep the pace up. Another thing I think that's important is having those short little breaks where we do something physical and something hands-on in between talking sections.
Okay, that's important.
Really trying to break that up, because we all use our bodies to work, right? Everyone that's at that class is used to moving all day long. They have a lot of energy. They get bored fast. So giving them the info, but also having little planned out lessons, I guess I could call them, but where we're standing up, we're moving around, we're using our bodies, we're doing some calisthenics just to wake people up, get the blood flowing. Those little breaks are important too, because if you don't have that, you're going to lose the class real quick.
Now talk to me about somebody that's been in the industry for 6 months that come in the class and somebody that's been doing it for 20 years. How do you balance on what to teach them, what not to teach them, so they both are getting the same amount out of the class?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I will say this. the people who come in who have a lot of experience, they have learned a lot of lessons themselves. They love to tell their side of the story, right? When we're teaching these things, the 6 months, the brand new to the industry, they're pliable. They are like putty. We can mold them into an amazing arborist in just a few days and turn out somebody that is ready to go out in the field using our techniques. Now, breaking down somebody who has a very, can't teach old dog new tricks, that's a hurdle we have to overcome a lot, is trying to let that guard down inside of them and break through to them and say, hey, I'm just like you, man. Like, I'm on your level. I want to hear everything that you have to say as well. Try it our way. Try it like this. See if it works for you. If it doesn't, keep doing what you're doing. Like, I'm not here to change anything. I'm just trying to provide some more information, make you better. If you want to be better, you can listen for me for a few minutes and try it out, see what you think. But I think breaking down those barriers and really trying to get deeper into their psyche is it's a talent, but you have to be able to do that, because a lot of guys that have that long time experience will sit in the back of the classroom with their arms folded. You can tell they're very resistant to any new information.
And you hit the nail on the head when it's breaking that barrier and gaining their trust, letting them know that we are no different from them. That we wake up, we put our boots on, we go to work too, right? And these are some things that we use and that we've learned in the industry to make our jobs easier, and that breaks that barrier. And when they're looking up at you like, oh, you're just a glorified trainer and that's all you do is teach and train, they look at you a little different when you're like, hey, dude, I do this every single day.
Yep.
Like, I live by this stuff. And they go, okay, cool.
Yeah. They start to...
It breaks a little
that
bit.
wall starts to come down. Their arms come unfolded, and they actually look at you in the eye, and they're a little more engaged.
Yep.
Yeah.
And somebody that's having a course, let's say just in-house for their own company, what's kind of the trainer to student ratio if it's a hands-on course?
I refer to that as the span of control. And really what that is, if you look at how much attention you can spend just one-on-one with somebody and the information that they're going to absorb, now you multiply that times 4. Now you're splitting your attention between, making sure that everyone's being safe and learning something. I would say 5 people to 1 trainer is the maximum span of control that is realistic and the safest practice. Any more than that, you're not going to be able to, 1, get information across, 2, make sure that everyone's doing what you're trying to instruct on safely. Your eyes can't be that many places at once. And 3, the biggest thing is that you're paying attention to them. When they have a quick question, you're standing right there, you can answer it. If you're teaching, say it's just me with 10 people, I might have 5 unanswered questions, and I'm only dealing with half my class now.
Yeah.
So I think that span of control is really important to think about when you are setting these up. If you have more than 5 people, you need to start adding instructors.
Yep. Yeah, the way I look at it too is it depends on the course. And we're rarely teaching where we have 20 people in the tree at one time. So usually when you have somebody that you're teaching to, it's a one-on-one. So if I'm doing, say, spar training, and I have somebody, I could have 2 people out there on a spar, and I can control 2 to 3. That's my max. I never go any more than that. When I'm climbing, you may have 2, 3 people maybe in one area, but you're usually delivering a one-on-one attention at a time, right? And it's control, but our max is that 1 to 5. So, if you're rigging with somebody, it's a one-on-one.
Absolutely.
It is one-on-one. That's all you get, So it depends on the course, and it depends on the size and how many trainers we have and how we can say, okay, you have 5 guys for your group, you have 5 guys for your group, and you're going to deliver one-on-one training at a time with each individual. So we can say 1 to 5. It really comes down to
one-on-one is the best. So yeah, just my word advice to anyone that is setting up something in-house for their own company is make sure that you have that span of control dialed in. Like, you're not going over that 5 to 1 ratio. There's no way to safely do a training outside of that scope. Yeah.
Okay. Another question for you. What are some of the challenges throughout these 3 days that you have come in front of you, and how do you overcome some of these challenges?
Sleep, exhaustion. No, I think one thing that's shocking to people when they first do a training is how mentally exhausting speaking all day is, instead of, when you get out there and you're working, your body's used to it. You're not having to talk through every single thing that you're doing. So really mentally preparing, like taking a second in the morning of quiet time to like hone yourself in and have some, whatever you need, if it's coffee, energy drink, something that can give you that boost that you need to get back up on stage and go over the next thing, because talking is exhausting. Mentally taxing is how I would put that.
I lost my voice on that last one.
So we all did. We just from speaking all day long, we all lost our voices, went out.
You're giving it your all.
Yeah. And, you know, I love having a curriculum down in front of me so I can keep us on track, because if not, like we talked about before, you'll start running wild with the schedule. So for whoever is in charge of it, having a set schedule that they can follow, that really does help. Like, give you, all right, this is our time for this talk. I already designated 2 people to be up there assisting me with this, and you can flow through right to the next thing without hesitation. You're keeping the classroom setting interested. You're keeping it alive. But coming from the training side, be prepared to be mentally tired. Like, get some good rest the days before. Don't exhaust yourself too much. Don't go out during the trainings. Have that big dinner that you're celebrating with everybody at the end, not in the middle of the training. It just kind of throws you off. You need to make sure that you're doing what you can to stay sharp.
Focused.
Yep.
What about you, Kyle? What are some of the challenges? I mean, first one coming in.
So for me, a big challenge was just getting through to those guys that we were talking about that might have been doing it for 15 years and they have some bad habits to break. That was a challenge to overcome. Like Andy said, you have to gain their trust, like you were talking about, and but once that happened, it was awesome. It's like, all right,
Now we're boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it happens with anybody. You have to be nice, be friendly, be open. You have to be the one to open that door, and
Yeah. And like Andy was saying, about just being mentally prepared too. It's a lot, because you got to bring your A game. My first one, I messed up one of the demonstrations.
I know, we heard about it.
Okay. So
Andy sent us the video.
okay.
No,
I did not.
He did great.
But they never know when you mess up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Hey, tree work's not perfect either. You got to learn how to correct a mistake every now and then too.
But it's also, you're showing them, hey, I'm just human. I'm humble. I'm right here.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you guys and teach you guys, but I'm not perfect either. Like, it's all right,
Yeah, and I say this a lot. People go, "Oh, how do I become a trainer? How do you choose trainers?" And I don't pick off of, oh man, he's the most skilled, or he's the biggest badass, or man, he's got a big Instagram. And no, it's about personality, because that is everything. Ultimately, if you can't break that barrier and those people can't feel that trust from you, that you're trying to give them something, then you're never going to get through to them, right? So it's picking the person, right? We could teach the skills, and you can add skills, no problem. But getting the right person, the personality that can interact with somebody and gain their trust, that is everything to being a trainer.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. The best basketball player, football player doesn't make always the best coach that's out there. How do you connect to those people on that? Now, another thing, what kind of results is running a boot camp that you guys are looking for at the end of the boot camp? How do you know when it's a success? What kind of things are happening at the end?
I know for us on that last one, just the feedback we got alone made me think it was a success. The feedback from the students. I had several students reach out to me on social media thanking me afterwards. I think almost every single student came up to me and shook my hand afterwards.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you get any hugs?
Yeah, I got a few hugs.
You got a few hugs? Anybody cry?
No, we
I'm
didn't.
not gonna lie, I almost cried at the end, man. I had chills running through my body because over 50% of the people that were there, the feedback that they got was, it is amazing how all of you guys have worked together as a team, and it's like you guys been doing this for years together. And it was your first time with them.
First time.
You know, and I've never gotten feedback like that. And I'm sitting in the classroom listening to this and chills through my body like, dude, you guys crushed it. You know, out of the park. So
I think
he called me on it and was like, dude, that was probably the best training ever.
awesome.
That was fucking
Thank you,
awesome.
guys.
I mean, these guys were, the students, I mean, everybody was just in sync, you know, but it took 4 of them to really get to where it was on that last time.
Yeah, we couldn't have done it without the team. I mean, putting that team together was key. I'd say for me personally, it's what I'm just going to echo what Kyle said. The feedback that we get at the end of these, and we do takeaways at the end of each day because we're covering so much information. We want to hear from them. You know, what was the one thing that stood out to you? What are you going to take home and really use? But by the end, these guys are listing off 10, 15 things, and they're like, I don't know how to pick one. This is like, there was just so many good things, and hearing we got something across to them, it lights the fire inside my belly. It makes me want to be better for them all the time. It's like, I want to keep excelling so that I can have this happen over and over and over again, you know, make it repeatable. I think, the feedback from the students is the most gratifying thing in the world.
Yeah.
So, and this last one was stellar. Everybody was really, they were repeating what the next person said, and then they were adding another thing to that and another thing. And
The energy was crazy. The camaraderie that, you know, the group was trying to organize a group dinner to all go out. I think a lot of them are going to stay in touch afterwards.
oh yeah, they all went. They all hung out. Yeah,
It changes. So within 3 days, if you just have a 1 day, and that's why there's also too, why boot camps work so well is if you have 1 day, you know, everybody comes with their guards up. They get in, they listen, like, okay, that was kind of cool. Day 3, they're like, I love you, man. You're my best friend. We're going to be brothers forever. You know? That's why I see it. So having at least a 3-day makes all the difference in the world.
yeah.
And you guys set that tone right out the gate, you know, and I love that. Come in, set the tone, what the expectations are, what we're here to accomplish together, and what you guys are going to provide for them. And these are the marks we're going to hit for you, you know, and you break those barriers right out the gate. So they're like, okay, this is cool. It's about us, you know, and it's not about these guys who want to give, you know, and you guys are very good at portraying that out the gate. So it sets the tone for everybody there.
And not just the tone there, it sets the tone for when they get back out in the field with their teams and how to train them. Some of the things of how they learn from you is how they're going to deliver it to their team.
Yeah, we're trying to get them to be leaders in their company with this information.
Elevating the standard.
Exactly. That's we can get that one thing across, that they're, you know, this isn't just for you. Take this home, share it, be a leader in your own company, like every day. Try to light that fire in yourself, so you want to study, you want to learn, you want to go outside of work and practice so that you're better when you show up to work. I mean, that's something I feel like a lot of people that come to us they're stagnant. You know, they've kind of plateaued in their career, and they want something more. We're trying to give them those tools, but also encourage them that, like, there's so much out there. You guys just keep learning. Do some self-reflection at the end of the day. Just like what we do at the end of each one of these days of boot camp, look back at your day. What did you learn? What did you mess up on? What could you improve on? You know, and I think when we set that tone first thing, it starts to translate all the way throughout the class.
Let's any wisdom you can share, you know, just kind of one thing for both of you guys that you can share, all 3 of you guys, you know, running boot camps. What's something you can share to the people who want to just set up a boot camp internally for their company, wants to work with a couple local tree companies to get something started? What's some wisdom that you could give them?
All right. Well, if you haven't done a training in your company, I encourage to have a meeting with your management team and sit down and talk about what are the biggest needs of the company. You know, customize it to what is everyone lacking in. Let's look at our safety issues. Let's cover those first. Okay, you start structuring it based on your needs. What are places that we could improve on? Build that out, and then, you know, we're always here. Contact somebody within the academy. Start asking them questions. We've done this before. We have that, you know, I'm always, if I don't know something, I'm going to reach out to somebody that I look to as a mentor and ask their opinion before I take the next step. I want to get as much behind me as I can, as much knowledge. So that would be my biggest suggestion is find out what your needs are, the needs of your company. Talk to the people. Hey, what are you guys interested in learning more about? Or if you're an operations manager and you see that we're really lacking on safety and chainsaws, okay, that's on your list. Start putting those things together prior to just saying, no, today we're going to do training. Well, what are we going to train on? Have a schedule, have a plan, and that should be based on the needs of your team.
Good. Kyle?
I think that curriculum's important. You got to be teaching the correct standards. You got to be teaching good curriculum and stick to it. There's a lot of information out there that we're teaching, and being able to stick to the plan, stick to the curriculum so we can give them all that information, and I think is pretty important.
It's good. It's good.
You?
I got two. One, invest in yourself by investing into your people, right? No matter how that is, whether you outsource training or provide in-house training, invest in your people. They're your number one asset. Two, I read this morning. You don't get results by focusing on results. You get results by focusing on the habits and behaviors that produce results.
Boom. That's a good way to close it out.
Good one.
Yeah, I like
Oh,
that.
man. Who was that? Did I write that? I thought that was a quote by me. I was waiting for that one. There you guys have it, guys. What does it take to set up a boot camp training? It's definitely not hey, let's just bring some industry badasses in and, hey, teach us some stuff. There's days and days of prep work that goes and writing a schedule, and from bathrooms to what kind of food, of when we're having it, what students are coming in, how many trainers do we need, the setup, the logs. I mean, so much goes in for 15 to 30 people to give them something that you guys have learned over all these years. So if you guys ever need any help, the Academy's always here to help you set something up internally for your company, come out and host one for you. But we're here. Wealth of knowledge. We've done it, year over year over year doing this. So we have that. So Kyle, Andy, Jared, thank you for being on the show. Jared, thank you for being on the show and gracing us with your presence.
Once a year, man. That's all you get.
You're on the introduction of the podcast, so it's good to have you on the show. It is. Also smart, especially with that quote at the end that I said, that was awesome.
Every now and then I get one.
But that's it, guys. If you guys like the show, if you got something out of it, if you learned something, please share it on your page. Go on Spotify, like us, comment, give us 5 stars. Also go to our YouTube, which I always forget to mention. You can watch this live on YouTube, not live, but you can watch a video, which we're one of very few podcasts that actually have video that you can watch. So watch us, like us on there. But until next time, remember to continue to elevate the standard of the industry through safety, training, and innovation. See you guys next time.
See ya.